The off season, you could say, technically starts today, ironically on Father's Day, but your boy is back on Ballin In Burgundy podcast live this Sunday, talking about some winners and losers off the off season of 2026. And I got a very new guest that y'all have seen his work throughout Commanders land. So I'm excited to talk about this. But like I said, it's a Ballin In Burgundy podcast. We are back live Sunday, Father's Day, winners and losers of the off season. Let's run this. Welcome back to BIB here live this Sunday here on Father's Day. But I got a very special guest. Y'all have seen him, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or if you're on his YouTube channel at Win Sports CC. I got my man Abdullah Konte, aka Dullah Vish. My man, what's happening?
What's going on, man? You got the name right and everything. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm here. I'm ready to be, talking. Look, it's my first Father's Day ever. I had a son earlier, back in July last year. So, it's definitely nice to be able to celebrate it. But also, look, what else would I rather be doing on a Sunday than talking ball? So, definitely having a good day today and enjoying to sit here and talk with you more on this.
Yeah. I mean, like you tweeted, it's every father's and granted every football fan's favorite activity, just talking about the team that is going to control us starting late July up until I'd say draft time.
Yeah, no, don't tell my wife that because she definitely does not like football season as much because she knows my attention is definitely on her 100%, so she's enjoying the off season. I'll just say that.
Oh, I bet she's enjoying it. She's like, you want to watch Love Island? You're like, I got this thing I got to do.
Right, bro. Anything she needs right now, I'm full go. She knows it changes once the fall comes through.
Hey, the moment I hear training camp, it's over for things. And I'm locked in. Yeah. But I would say today, because we had OTAs last week, you talked about it with Josh over on his channel covering the Commanders. I would say today truly starts the off season because we won't be seeing anybody on the field for another 6 weeks until late July for training camp. And I'm just like, first of all, it's going to be rough because the UFL ain't on. World Cup is about to come to an end here in a couple of weeks. I can watch baseball, but I can only watch my Braves do so okay. So I'm like, I need a little bit of my fix. But secondly, it gives us like a chance to kind of look back on the offseason thus far and say, what have we done right? What have we done wrong? Who's kind of won this offseason for the Commanders? Who's kind of lost this offseason? So I'm kind of excited to talk about this with you because, first of all, I haven't had you on, and it's great to have you on. And secondly, I like bouncing these things off of people because I'm like, I could say, Terry won, and someone's going to be like, bro, Terry's the biggest loser. It's like I'm ready kind of into this debate.
For sure.
If you are. What up, Kay? What's happening, Kay? Welcome in. Love having you. Seeing you. I'll see you and some of the others on the Commanders Classic Cup, brought to you by Off the Bench. That'll be a fun tournament, all things considered. But kind of starting things off, let's start with the positives. Let's start with kind of these biggest winners you could say of the offseason. I'll kind of let you kick things off, unless you're kind of waiting to see what I hear.
No, I mean, look, I have a, if we're talking about, if in broad, I think the coordinators, taking charge, getting their first chances to get out there and actually, kind of direct these guys in a certain way. And with the energy being high, it felt like these guys are taking to these coaching staffs, these new coaching staffs. So I think coordinators wise is getting their feet wet, being in charge, being able to start leading. And it doesn't look like they are nervous at all. It looks like they're ready to go in regards to that. So I would say that's a big one. But if we're going to talk players, like I think one player for sure would probably be, and maybe there's two I would just mention really quickly. One being Rachaad White. I think with the absence of Bill for OTAs, Bill was there for the mini camp, but he was on, they talked about how they split the field in two different sides, and definitely Rachaad White got a lot more run with the number one offense. What we think the number one offense will be, and I think him just getting a lot more reps, right? And then the other person that I would say is a guy that I'm still not sure for sure if he makes the team or if he's going to make a big contribution. But from where he was at the beginning of OTAs or beginning of when he signed till now, seems to be a big jump, and that's Van Jefferson, right? Like, there is a talk about Van Jefferson quite a bit recently, and I wasn't really sold on, some of the talk early on just because I felt like he was more of a Michael Gallup kind of thing where people brought in a veteran, AP brings a veteran. It's a guy that people know, but is he really going to impact the team? Is he really going to make the team? But I honestly, the more and more we're seeing of Van, the more and more plays he's making, as well as just the more and more you're hearing, not just from, Dan Quinn, but some other guys on the squad. So I would say those are two, like, just immediate ones that drop off the page.
Yeah, I would say the kind of the big immediate one for me, whether it was free agency or even with the draft, I'd say Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
He's finally healthy for the first time in months since really week 2, because he got injured week 2. He got injured week 6 against Dallas, and then week 11 against Seattle. I think I have the weeks wrong. 3 injuries against 3 significant opponents, all NFC too. Packers, Cowboys, Seahawks. I don't like that. North, East, and West. If we had a South team in there, I'd have cried.
Right.
But finally healthy, put on like a little bit of weight, but also he's a taller, kind of skinnier guy. So weight for him doesn't translate as like putting Matt Golban on some weight. Like, it's going to look different for all of us. But he has Terry and OTAs and minicamp for the first time kind of in his career, because Terry was either dealing with contracts or Jayden was fresh or he was still getting new on the offense. You bring in a wide receiver, Antonio Williams. He brought back De'Ami Brown when Jayden had decent chemistry with him. He brought in, like I said, Van Jefferson. He brought in Rachaad White, his old, Sun Devils college teammate. You got him a new center in Matt Golban, which I was excited for. You brought in a new running back in Katron Allen from the draft. You elevated David Blau, so it's not like he's learning a whole new system. He's just kind of learning a few new things because Blau wants this from the Cliff days to his Detroit days, to his Arizona days, and I think it helps having a newer eye, meaning David Blau just finished playing football like 3 years ago for, I think, Detroit. So he's still like fresh of like, all right, well, a cover 2 in this defense versus a cover 5 to the flats looks different than Cliff, who hasn't been on a field playing football since Texas Tech. I don't think he ever played a snap in the league. So I think Jayden Daniels overall, I think it's benefited probably the most from this whole offseason. Now, I wish we kind of will figure out this whole Ayuk Diggs wide receiver too situation, but that is kind of a formality. That's more of an Adam Peters thing. But I think the biggest winner, I would say, is probably Jayden Daniels if you're looking at like a player specific offensively. I'll start with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think before they even started OTAs, you could argue that it was Jayden Daniels because they're finally starting to get more help. And you can argue not only just on the offensive side of the ball, he's probably thrilled about the defensive side of the ball getting a lot more additions too, because there was this too much of this feeling of him having to play hero ball last year. In my opinion, I feel like Jayden did some crazy, incredible things in year 1 in 2024. And then in last year, I think when it came to acquiring talent in the offseason, it wasn't at the level that anybody thought. I think we all were expecting AP to go crazy, kind of like he did last year, and it didn't really happen. And we're kind of like, okay, well, he didn't go crazy in 24 either. And they actually end up wanting to go in the NFC Championship game. So in 25, when he didn't make these huge additions, it's kind of like, well, maybe he just knows better than all of us. And like, he doesn't need a bunch of help to get them there. And then we saw what happened. You had a few injuries and you realize the depth on this team isn't actually very good. And so being able to get so many, people on the squad that are going to help, whether it's on the offense or the defense, because like it's a team effort kind of thing. You get ball, if they're able to make more turnovers, give her shorter fields, all that stuff. This will give Jayden a little bit more comfortability for him not to feel like he has to make some heroic play every down. So definitely I agree with that. I think that was the biggest thing for me this offseason was just seeing what they were able to do to kind of flip the season or flip the roster around. And I think the next thing that would be ideal is maybe a little bit more help on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, I do think this Ayuk thing is real. Look, the info we saw on Twitter today looks like he really is here in Virginia, right? There's a lot of people investigating trees and all that stuff to make sure that these are Ashburn trees and not California trees and all that stuff. But it does really look like he is here. And I think that bringing another guy like him or Diggs or anybody else would be another, positive thing for this, team, for this offense, and obviously for Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, I mean, for those who've watched me, whether it's here on BIB, whether it's on the Burgundy Breakdown, whether you've seen me on, off the bench or whatnot, I've been anti-Ayuk since the jump. I gotta make it. I gotta make merch, or I gotta make trademark for anti-Ayuk. But at this rate, like, I know it's gonna happen. Like, I'm like, yeah, it's gonna happen. I think I would rather bring in Diggs, have an immediate impact, than the guy who hasn't played ball in 2 years.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Yeah.
But also, and I've said this and I've heard this with Asia, with Grant, of like, if nothing happens, I'm okay with it. That helps elevate the progression of Antonio Williams, because as of right now, I am as wide receiver 2 on the roster. You learn from Terry, you learn from Van, you learn from Diami. It takes a little bit of pressure off Luke and Jaylen to come back from injury of saying, hey, we need you guys. Like today, it's like, no, we've got a guy just shy of 6 foot with 4.4 speed who's going to be playing in the slot, in the Z, in the flats, on the outside. They can't stop raving about Antonio. We know what Diami brings. We know what Luke and Jaylen will be on special teams. We know what God, I just had the other wide receiver in my mind. Van Jefferson is. They're loving Jayden Bradley. I'd give him a shot if we're going to keep 7. I might make him the 7 if nothing else happened. You still have Treylon Burks he brought back, which I was happy for. So I think if nothing happens with Ayuk or Diggs, or someone wants to throw a Keenan Allen in the mix, fine, we can go down that road and try that out. Okay with not pulling any more triggers of saying, hey, we've got our roster. We kind of know who's not going to make it, who will make it. We'll go from there. And if we need them, they're going to be on the market.
I don't think they even feel as strongly about adding a guy as the fan base believes. I think the fan base, I mean, we've heard people say add Ayuk and Diggs. Like, they're just people who just want everybody, right? Like, we know, and this is not just this fan base, that's most fan bases. When somebody becomes available, is like, why can't we add that guy too? I think that for
Agreed.
Yeah, right. Everybody's greedy in regards to winning, right? Everybody wants to win. And I think for in this case, right, like, I think if they wanted Diggs, they could have Diggs. It's clear that Diggs kind of wants to be here. I'm kind of on the same tick as you. Like, I'm not really anti-Ayuk, but I would probably just roll the punches with Diggs because I just don't know what's happening with Ayuk. You can't. You still have to hope that the 49ers release him. We don't know if they're going to do that. We've heard that they could just keep him on the did not report list. And if he's here in Virginia, like, all this stuff that he's doing, I wish he would do it at the 49ers campus. That would make them inclined to cut him more. Because if he can't get cut, like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I think they feel very comfortable with the receivers they have. Honestly, they're not. If they really felt strongly about getting somebody, I don't think they'd be waiting still. I don't think that they would be chilling still. I think that they're kind of like, look, the Ayuk thing to me feels more of a long play anyway, because you probably aren't expecting him to be 100% full go. Like, he'll probably be healthy, but really expecting him to contribute thoroughly to the point where you're relying on him so much. He could have a great year, but I think that they're kind of like, hey, he's like, what, 28? Like, we can, if we can get him on a small deal and still have him as a guy that we can use for 3 some years, then fine. But when it comes to immediate need, if they really wanted immediate need, they would just go get Diggs, right? So I don't think that that's what they're thinking. I think that it's been proven. I mean, everybody's been asking why haven't they made a move. I don't think they want to. I think that they're completely fine with the guys that they have.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, they still have training camp. They signed Noah Brown like the week of the first game,
right,
in 24. So like they can make moves if somebody becomes available, if they really just feel like, hey, these guys aren't cutting it. I just think that they would have made a move by now. So I'm fine with them rolling with the guys that they have, because I think we don't really know what they have. True. I think when you look at the top to bottom from wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 5, I think you have a guy who's wide receiver 1. I think you have a guy who's wide receiver 3, 4, and 5. You really just need a guy to step up in 2. You have plenty of guys who could be that guy. They just need to really evaluate into that. And based upon what we've been seeing at camp, I think they really do believe that Antonio Williams is going to be that guy. So we'll see.
Yeah. Look, when I was going through the draft process, and I don't know like how many of the draft times you're listening to, because it can get a lot during draft time. It's so much, and everyone's like, "How do you do it?"
Content.
I started
so much content.
I started December because I was done at the Seattle game. I was starting. Then.
Same. Yeah.
I was like, here we go. But like, I knew the fact that Carnell Tate has come out and he was like, I thought I was going to Washington at 7, and he went to Tennessee at 4. And I was like, all right, well, Carnell Tate's off the board. You could get him at Kyle Lemon, but he's 5'10", 5'11". You could get
Jordan Tyson.
But if you're worried about injury history, Jordan Tyson is Chris Olave 2.0, but with a higher
he's scary. He's so talented, but he does get hurt a lot. So
and I love them both. Like I want Chris Olave to be wide receiver 1 for New Orleans forever, but he's concussion poppy in Southeast. But you look at the other rounds: Elijah Surratt, Jacoby Lane. You've got I was high on Skylar Bell. I would have taken him at pick 60 if we had it. I would have taken Skylar Bell. We got Antonio Williams. So I can't make a judgment because I didn't do the research on Clemson football because I wasn't watching a 6-6 ACC football team when Duke won the ACC and they weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs. And it was like, that make sense. But you look at the tape, they were elated. David Blau was like, that's my guy. When Cliff said, go get, what was it? Connolly or nothing that year where he had the plaque or he had the sheet. Was it that? I think it was like Connolly or nothing.
It was like Cliff Kingsbury who wrote that.
Yeah. If all David Blau had to do was just write his name on a card, because he was like Antonio, and in the commander's like, give me Antonio, and I'm like, all right, well, he likes him this early. He's got a plan. He fits right into with this sub 6'1" wide receiver room when Luke McCaffrey 6'2" and is the tallest of the bunch. It's so hilarious. That's the white boy that's the tallest, but that's not here nor there.
Yeah.
And he can play, like I said, he can play the Z, he can play the Y, he can play the slot, he can go long, he's got contested catch, he's got good hands, so give you good yards. Not the longest injury history like some of these other guys, and he has tools in his bag. Like I think Jacoby Lane is just a go route kind of guy. I think Nick Harbor this year is just kind of a tall go route. Like if DK Metcalf was just a go route merchant, that's what Nick Harbor is to me for the Gamecocks, but I will be proven wrong, hopefully. So again, I think Antonio Williams currently constructed. I have him as wide receiver 2 because they wouldn't have drafted him that high with this much confidence and spotlight. If they were like, Van Jefferson's 2, Luke at the 3, so Antonio looking like the 4. I'd be like,
what are we
doing here?
There's two things that says a lot about the Antonio Williams thing. Like, one, first off, people got to remind themselves of the fact that he was projected to be a first round pick, going into the season. They just had a rough year at Clemson. All the Clemson prospects went lower than they were expected to go because they didn't play well. That's generally what happens. Yeah, Klubnik is one of the reasons, but even the defensive guys like TJ Parker, Avion Terrell, like all these guys went lower than they were expected to. And this is what happens when you don't play as well. You know what I mean? When you play lower to expectations. So that's the first thing, right? He went into 3rd. A lot of people didn't think he'd be there in the 3rd. The other thing that says a lot is that there was a lot of talented receivers that were available. I know some people wanted Brazel. I know some people wanted Malachi Fields, myself included. Like I was hopeful that they would get a taller, bigger threat type of person, but you know, when you watch Antonio Williams and you recognize how great he is when it comes to separation and how much they relied on him as their number one receiver, him being able to come in and be that for this team, seems like they feel very confident. And I'll keep it real. I know that there's certain things that we can't talk about what we see out there, but we could talk a little bit about the guys who were split up on certain fields and stuff. Antonio Williams was on the side with the teams getting the install all 3 days, right? And out of the receivers, the only other person that was there with him all 3 days was Terry. That says a lot to me. That says that they feel very confident in him, or they at least believe he's going to be that second guy for them, right? There is a rotation of Treylon, Diami, you know, Van Jefferson, all those guys were rotating, getting some run there, as well as being on other field where the guys were getting reps, not Antonio Williams. And that says a lot for a guy who's a rookie, because you would assume get rookie some reps, regardless if you think he's really going to be that guy or not. Just get him some reps. If they felt like, hey, he's good enough to just be on the insult side of things, means they feel comfortable with him. And look, you know, the film doesn't lie. Like, he is a great separator. I don't think he's running away from anybody. Like, you know what I mean? Doesn't have amazing top end speed, but I think he has great acceleration. But either way, I think that getting somebody who's going to be more of a, you know, I've compared him to Randall Cobb a few times, just because I feel like he's somebody who can play the outside and the inside, just like Randall Cobb used to do, and was kind of that safety blanket for Aaron Rodgers. I feel like they're trying to do something similar with Antonio Williams. So
I never thought Randall Cobb.
Yeah.
And it makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. Huh. Just mainly just because of the way, like, I don't think that their size is super similar, because Randall was only like 5'10", and you know, they played like with the ball in their hand, they're different. But I just felt like the way that Aaron Rodgers would look for Randall Cobb, and like, look, Aaron Rodgers, everywhere he went, he was like, yo, bring Randall Cobb with me, because he knew that was like his go-to kind of guy. And that's basically when you hear Dabo Sweeney talk about Antonio Williams, when you talk to some of the old teammates, they mention about how he was that reliable source. And I think that's what we're talking about. Like, if Terry goes down, who's going to be that reliable guy that they can, you know, lean on? If you have another guy that you feel confident in, that's going to be able to be a catcher, be able to be a separator, be able to make some plays on the third down, that reminds me of what Randall Cobb used to do for the Packers. So that's kind of my comparison, and I think that that's what they're hoping for.
Yeah, if he comes even shy of what Randall Cobb was, success all around. I think if he even just plays better than all the receivers on the roster, you call that a success. Like, if he's giving you, if he gives me what Debo gave me last year, which was 707, I call that a successful rookie season.
Oh, 100%.
By far.
100%. And I think that, look, I still do think that they believe Ayuk will be here in some capacity. So they're just like, hey, you know, we're going to coach this kid up. We might not have to rely on him as much in this year one, but you know, I do think that they feel very strongly in it. And I think actions speak louder words. For them not making any types of moves and just not really talking too much about the the receiver position doesn't make me worried like that. It doesn't make me think that they're worried about it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. Like, I would love Jayden Bradley to make the roster, but I was hyped for Ja'Cory Brooks last season. So it's that UDFA, like, love. Like, it's him and Malik Spencer are my kind of two now. I wanted Jeffrey Imba, but front seven are kind of set. Like, if we kept 7, I'd keep Bradley. That gives him a 6'4" wide receiver with 4.4 speed with special teams ability. But they kind of also have that in Luke McCaffrey. And they left them some Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah, I think if Ayuk does end up getting here, it's going to be really hard for Jayden Bradley, because how many people do you keep? There's a lot, like, you know, I talked about this with Josh, though we might be contemplating who the number 2 guy is. There's plenty of 3, 4, and 5 receivers on this squad. So, you know, the battle there is going to be very intense and thorough.
Yeah. When me and Nick did our projection 53-man rosters last month or the beginning of this month, I was keeping 6 wide receivers, because I had us keeping 3 running backs, 3 tight ends, and 6 receivers. And Van was the first one off the bus.
Yeah. And you know what's so funny? Because that's interesting, because for how much we've been seeing them going with multiple tight ends. Like they left 4 tight ends last year. So for you going with 3 tight ends, I don't think that happens. I think they go with 4 again because Yankoff has been making plays and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But they also need to make sure they have guys that are going to be really, heavy in the running sets too. So, and then also the fact that they do want to be a run first team, or at least maybe, let me not say run first, but more balanced. They have not been as balanced as they've been as we've wanted to see them in the past. And so, they have a lot of backs, right now that they're contemplating too. Do they keep 4 backs? Like, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, finagling of the roster, but there is going to be some people that maybe get cut that we're surprised by. So,
yeah. I mean, I'll lead that into my next kind of winner. That's, to me, is the front 7, because it got a lot younger, a lot faster, a lot stronger, a lot deeper. Odafe Owe, Joshua Josephs. He brought in Tim Settle. He brought in Jeffrey Imba. Derzon Noon's finally healthy. He brought in, oh God, I can see him, Settle and
Omenihu.
And there's one other, I can see it. Like, we brought in like 7 defensive linemen this offseason. And then you drafted Joshua Josephs.
Yeah.
So it's like you can piecemeal this defense, because I think they're gonna go run more 3-4, especially with the linebacker department that we have. But they could run a 4-3 with the amount of guys we have. You could run a 5-2-1 if you really wanted to get like ballsy on the blitz, or 5-2-5. 5-1-5 would actually be the math.
Yeah.
Like, I think the front 7 got a lot better simply due to the fact that you have positioned edge rushers, you have positioned D tackles, and these are guys that have played well. Tim Settle, Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw. Those are your front 3 killers right now. And it's like, well, Deron will probably take a double. Him is kind of your pass rush D tackle, since Derzon, I don't know what we have him left, and I was higher on him than others. And then you still have Kinlaw, who's just a big body guy. If you're gonna swat a ball down, Kinlaw's your man at 6'5".
Yeah, I mean, the front 7, when it comes to the defensive side, it's definitely the most improved, area. Like, I mentioned this, after the first OTAs that I was out there for, and this was like our first chance to see the new team, and it was just like, man, they inflict fear, because if you're talking about Owe and Calevon on the outsides as well, these are big guys, and we're talking about guys that are all not wearing pads, right? Omenihu's a big dude. Like, all these dudes. I mean, when we heard Kinlaw be like, "Oh, this guy could go," like, he's, there's a lot of talent. They brought a lot of guys in, because, like, when you really think about the biggest adjustments last year, it was really Kinlaw and Dietrich Wise. And the funniest thing right now is that we're talking about all these guys, and Wise and Dorrance Armstrong aren't even out there right now, right? So the fact that there's so many people, I think they're really going to inflict a lot of fear when it comes to some of the O-line and quarterbacks they're going to go against. And that's just something that they haven't seen in a while. And you could argue the last time they had this kind of ability in the front line is the last time they had 4 first rounders with, Payne, Sweat, Chase, and John Allen, but they didn't really play up to that capacity. I think the scheme here is going to be different, because, we're talking about the front 7, but we're not really mentioning the fact that, like, some of their fronts are very multiple, where you'll see linebackers right on the line where you're not sure, is Luvu coming, you know what I mean, and somebody dropping back, is Sonny Styles going to be coming as well. So, just the look of it, I mentioned this when I was talking to Josh as well. I think that, both offense and defense are going to look far different this season than they have in the last few years. But the one that I'm much more excited to watch is the defense. I'm much more excited to watch the defense, because, they're going to be aggressive. They're going to be all over the place. There's a lot of different fits and a lot of different looks that they're going to be able to bring. And those are some of the things that we can't discuss too much, when it comes to formations and sets like that. But it's going to be very different. And I think that, I've seen a lot of people rotating in different spots. And so, when you think about night and day difference between last year and this year, by far, the front 7 on the defensive side of the ball is the one that's going to be much, much different than what we've seen in the last year or two.
Yeah, I mean, even look at the back 4 and those linebackers: McGee, Chenal, Sonny, Frankie. You still have Adrano. You still have KO. You still have Ballor.
Jordan McGee. I don't know if you mentioned him. Did you say McGee?
Yeah, McGee in my front. Yeah. So I mean, you have 7 linebackers, and you're probably only keeping 5. Well, I mean, traditional linebackers. If you're counting outside linebackers like Joseph, like Odafe, like Caleb on, like those guys, call it 11.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking
the real true linebackers, like 4 to 5, 6, maybe if you're talking about Ballor, if he makes it for special teams reasons, stuff like that. But yeah,
it's that because I kept the way we did on the projections was we kept 9 D linemen, meaning D tackles, D ends. We kept 9 linebackers, meaning middle to weak side to outside. It's because they have like Odafe on Commanders.com, outside linebacker. Kilo on Chase on outside linebacker. Well, all right. If you construct this the way, let's say the Steelers do, where it's D tackles and D ends, outside linebackers, you're going to keep like 9. Yeah. 4 of those are your pass rushers. 5 of those are your middle to your pass coverage, where you've got McGee, Frankie, Sonny, Chanel. There's 4 guarantees.
Yeah.
Madrano, Cahill, Ballor. Who's getting that 5th? And it's probably Ballor. And it's like, well, now Madrano, your 7th round pick, is screwed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, when I was doing Josh's show, like there was somebody who had mentioned that like Ballor got to be gone because they have enough young guys to take over on those special teams. And to be fair, that's a possibility, right? I mean, if you don't want to lose a guy like Ahikaho and Cam Madrano, and you know that they can do the special teams, as well as a Nick Ballor who's getting older, do you let him walk so you can keep them? These are the kind of things that kind of are like the business decisions that have to be made. It's like, hey, you're a good player, but we got to start looking at the youth and kind of getting these guys acclimated, especially if you believe those guys can actually bring quality reps to you playing the actual linebacker versus the special teams. Because I think it's pretty clear we have not seen Nick Ballor really playing any actual linebacker. It's just special teams, and he's classified as a linebacker, right? So, there's a lot of conversation. I personally wish that they would change these roles for like OA and Caleb on to like edge versus like outside linebackers, because like sure they might go drop back in coverage here and there maybe, but like they're pretty much edge rushers, right? And so I mean, I think that if I'm thinking about who for sure is making the roster, and this is where there's some rumblings, and not even rumblings from like anybody involved with the team or anything like that, there's just like a lot of talk from people who cover the team about, is there room to make a move? You have a linebacker room where you have Luvu and you have McGee and you have guys that you thought might be more starters, but with getting Sonny Styles, do you have room to like, trade them away as assets to get other things for your team? It's possible. I wouldn't do it. I think I would love to see Luvu. I think Luvu has strong capabilities in this defense, specifically since they rushed the quarterback with linebackers a lot. And then I just think McGee is a really good player that, if it wasn't for Sonny Styles getting drafted, you would probably see him have a much bigger role on the squad. But yeah, I mean, to me, you do have, Chanel, you have Sonny Styles, you have Louis, you have McGee. And then, like to me, the 5th probably makes sense that it's Madrano, because you probably need more linebackers that can, one, probably rush the passer, and then also be able to be good in coverage. Now, this is another thing where it's like, this is where that 53, everybody has their different 53, and you'll see how some people are like, hey, I'm adding an extra tight end here. And some people are like, well, I want to really keep this extra linebacker, so go with 3 tight ends. So there'll be some finagling of things. But there is some conversation about, are they going to make any kind of adjustments to this roster? Is there a B-Rob type of person on this team like they did last year, right? B-Rob was a guy that everybody was like, oh, he's for sure on the squad, for sure on the and then that whole, Ben Standig mentioning it, everybody was like, what? B-Rob not making the team. And then like a week later, it was like B-Rob's in San Fran. So is it possible that there's a guy out there that like, everybody's kind of just, calculating as a guy who's going to be here contributing, that actually they're like, we can maybe shop this guy and because we're pretty good at this point on our team.
Yeah, I'd thought about that of like, all right, who could be like a trade piece? Whether it's like, could it be Duran on this last year? Could it be Frankie on his last year? Could it be like something like that? But I'm thinking like, Well, that rate's probably not Duran because you need someone who's been here forever to like show Duran actually how this goes, to bounce off Kinlaw, to bounce off Tim Settle, because now he plays with Duran again. All right, could it be Frankie? Well, no, because Sonny's let's say we're playing a traditional linebacker set. Leo and Sonny are your middle of the field. They're gonna hover. They're gonna be your, you know, if you're on Madden, your created player, middle linebacker guys. You have McGee, who can drop back and go sideline to sideline. You have Madrano, which they've all said is a safety and linebacker body. So try him at safety, guys. And then that leaves Frankie, when his best year was in a traditional linebacker set, hovering the field, and here and there he'd be rushing the passer for 8 sacks a season. So it's like, my other thing is like, what trade record, let's say, would Frankie Louvu have? Would it be him and a 7 for a 6? Would it be him for a 5? Would it be him for a 6? I'm just like, at that rate, is it worth it?
Well, I think that's where the people who mention trades sometimes are like, yeah, just trade them away. And I'm like, well, you do have to have a partner. Yeah, you do have to have a partner, because you know, even with the lineman thing, I had somebody talk to me about the O-line, and you know, Chris Paul and Coleman are going after that, you know, right guard spot, and a lot of people think Coleman's winning, so they're like, oh, well, trade, you know, Chris Paul away. And I'm like, well, Chris Paul was just a free agent and did not get much, you know, offers.
Like nothing.
His market was not great. We all thought he was leaving because we were hearing that the market was going to be like 4 times higher than what he actually got, right? And so
it was this much.
That's the thing. So it's like, so sometimes people, like, it doesn't really help the team much to trade a guy and get a pick swap or something, or like, you know, get an extra 7th or something like that, unless you really just truly feel like he's not a good fit. Like, I mean, that was the argument last year with B-Rob, and you could argue that, like, oh, once Eckler went down, it would have been nice to have B-Rob on the team still, right? Like, some people felt that way. I didn't really care because I felt like they were moving forward. I felt like, you know, to me, B-Rob was kind of more of like a one-trick pony kind of thing. So I was kind of very comfortable with B-Rob leaving the squad or them getting something out of it. And when you look at it now, I mean, he's not even on San Fran anymore. He's in Atlanta. They got a 6th round for him. They needed that extra pick, clearly, because they were, you know, running low on picks the last couple of years. So, you know, it really just depends on if somebody gives you a proper offer. Like, if somebody's offering like a 4th rounder for Louvu, you might be like, you know what? Yeah, maybe I will give up Louvu for that. But, like, you know, I think Louvu plays a role on the squad. I think that people are kind of lower on Louvu because of last year than they're forgetting. I mean, no one would have even thought about trading Louvu away after the 2024 season. No. But now in 2025, the way things happen in 2025, people in 2026 are kind of like, yeah, we don't need him. We got Sonny Styles, we got Chanel, we're good. And I'm like, hey man, you might not realize how good of this guy could be, especially in this defense. When I've done all the research of what this defense really is going to be, Lou was the first guy I thought of, because I just felt like they emphasize so much of bringing pressure from linebackers. Louvu can do exactly what they need. So
I'm with you on that one. I mean, you brought up Brandon Coleman, and he kind of fits in with the second part of this winner or loser conversation. Now, I could be wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. You drafted him to play tackle when he was clearly a guard at TCU. That didn't work. So you try him in at guard. Well, Chris Paul shined last year, and you still have Sam Cosme. That didn't work. So we come into year 3. Okay. Well, try him out at center. You released Tyler Biadasz. You let him go to the Chargers for 3 years, $30 million. Well, you brought back Alec Grady to play center, and you drafted my guy Matt Goldman from Michigan State. Coleman's in there like, there's 4 tackles on the roster, there's 4 guards on the roster, there's 2 centers. Clipboard it is for me.
It's funny you say that, because I don't think that's the case at all. I think that it's, if we're talking about losers, the loser in this situation, I think, is Chris Paul. And his reason, because it's like he played really, really well last year, but everything that's happened since the end of the season, you know, the market was low. It's like he got reevaluated, and they were like, yeah, you did well last year, but you're not that good. And what we've been seeing is that it looks more like, you know, Brandon Coleman has more potential to be taking that guard spot. Like, the thing about Coleman that's been weird, Coleman was definitely a loser for 2025, but was that because of the disconnect that he had with the last O-line coach, because they let go of their O-line coach off rip, right? They let go of Cliff, and the first thing they did, offensive line coach is gone, right? Yeah, Bobby Johnson gone. Boom, just like that. Does anybody know what happened to Coleman last year in that 5-game stretch where it was like he was just scratched, not playing, and it was kind of like he's at every game? I remember being on the sideline being like, why is this guy not playing? Every time I saw him, I'd be like, he's not dressed out, he's here. What is going on with Brandon Coleman? Because you're right, like everything was catered for him to take that next step, because look, you're right. I think that he played well enough at tackle, but they kind of quickly realized like, hey man, he's more of a guard. You know what I mean? Like he can maybe play some tackle, but we need to just put him at guard.
It's guard.
And you know, I think that they were just basically like, put him at guard. We get Tunsil, we get Connerly, put him at guard, boom, solidified O-line. And last year, for some reason, it just didn't work out that way. So it was very surprising. But Paul came in there, played pretty well, but it's clear that what Paul did was not good enough for other people to be like, yeah, we're going to steal him. So he came back. And since he's come back, you would think he would automatically have that starting role. The fact that he's still fighting for that role gives me more the idea that he is the loser in regards to this situation. So we'll see. Whoever loses that battle is probably the loser of that of the camp, though, right? So, like, for you mentioning that you think it might be Coleman, and I'm like, I think it might be Paul. It's clear that the loser of that battle is probably going to be not feeling so great, you know, at the beginning of the year. But, you know, that's another person. Like, when it comes to, you know, I thought it's, you know, based upon what was happening last year, I thought Coleman was a potential trade candidate, especially at the deadline, because I was like, they're not playing him. They're not happy with him. Like, other teams might want a guard that could play some tackle
for
like,
a seventh.
Yeah, exactly. Like, let him go. Like, if you're not playing, we don't like him. Like, let him go. But I think that this is where there was disconnects with some of the players last year. I mean, Sinnott is another one that didn't play as much last year, and there's some rumblings that the offense wasn't playing the players that AP thought that they should be playing. So, you know, I don't know, man, but I do think that whoever doesn't win that battle is probably not feeling great about their time here in Washington after that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I love these debates because, like, I want to be proven wrong. I want, like, people tell me, John, you're a moron. Relax. I'm like, yeah, that's fine by me. But you're right. Chris Paul coming in and forgetting the fact of, like, oh, he's not doing great. Yeah, that's an oversight because he's kind of gone quiet in camp when everyone's like, there's Sonny, there's Antonio, there's Bradley, there's Bill, there's Rashad, there's Jayden, there's Calicomanix and Sam Harmon. I'm thinking, like, who are we forgetting? Chris Paul's not doing great. Thank you for reminding me.
It's also tough, too, because we're talking about positions that do well with contact and they can't hit nobody, right? So this is where, like, the D-line and the O-line and people, like, you know, another loser or a person that hasn't been able to shine as much as they want to is a guy like Katron Allen, who's known for using his power, using his ability to shed blocks and break through things. But, like, how can you really evaluate this person when he can't hit nobody, you know? So I think that the O-line will get more answers in training camp, right? Like, I think it's easy to say that one guy is winning versus the other, but when the lights are brightest and things are actually moving and we're getting closer and closer to week 1 and we're actually getting the pads on and we're actually practicing against different teams and doing the preseason stuff, we might be seeing a completely different tune by then.
Yeah, that's fair. And then Winchester brought up a good point. Paul was on a good run blocker. That is an oversight because we were trying to pass a lot, and he was actually pretty good in pass protection. And he tried to run the ball, and it's like, oh, yeah, fair enough.
And for what they're trying to do, they might not be suited. Like, this is the thing about the new change with, like, if anybody's been at a job when you got new people coming in and you got a new boss, sometimes you don't rock with that boss no more. Like, that job might be completely different because the boss is wanting you to do very different things. And so same thing applies here, where these guys, there are guys that we might be seeing and being like, oh man, this guy is shining. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this whole Van Jefferson thing, maybe it's because of the scheme. Yeah, he just works well with the scheme. Like, there are guys that, you know, you might be like, you know what? he doesn't fit this anymore. He's not like great for us. So that's where, you might be seeing some changes that happen between now and training camp, or even training camp to the regular season, where you're like, wow, I can't believe they traded this guy, or I can't believe they let this guy go. It's the same thing that happened to Jahan Dotson, right? Like, I mean, they let Jahan go. That clearly the past regime and coaches and all that love Jahan, and this new team didn't love Jahan that much. So stuff like this happens all the time.
It does. And I think when it comes to Coleman too, and it's kind of the Jahan Dotson effect, I guess you could say the past couple of years, it's like, to me, Coleman wasn't the best offensive lineman at that spot in the draft. And if I remember correctly, I would have gone like Dominic Pooney.
Yeah.
And he became, I'd say, good, if not great, for San Fran. Or you go get another safety at the third round, or you go get a different wide receiver than Luke McCaffrey.
Yeah.
Then I think if you swapped any receiver at 100 and Coleman, and you swap their draft spots, it's not as much discourse.
Yeah.
Because they drafted Coleman from a guard to a tackle when he was giving up no sacks at TCU as a guard. And then you put him at tackle, and it took him a while to get there. And I was like, I got questions already off rip.
Well, and I think that they took a chance, right? Early on, they had a lot of picks, and I thought we were kind of anticipating them going with some kind of O-lineman early on, but they took a chance on Newton, which is why they really need Newton to ball out, because that was a surprise to everybody, right? Everybody knew Jayden was going to be that first pick. Newton was kind of like, oh, they already have Deron Payne, they have Jonathan Allen, like, D tackle, really? Okay.
Right.
And it kind of put the door on, like, okay, well, they do know that those guys are going to cost money, and they want to start going younger. And also Newton was a guy who was supposed to be a top 15 type level talent, but just with the injuries, he kind of dropped, and they were just like, you can't pass on it. Then, they did the whole trade back with Philly. They decided, hey, we can get some more picks, and that's where they take, shots with Mikey. And then, with Coleman, I think they just kind of, they was in it too. I think that with Coleman, when they got to that point, they're like, yo, it'd be really good to get a lineman to get a tackle. And they're like, this guy, I think they thought the talent was there. And I remember hearing, I can't remember who it was. It might have been JP. Somebody interviewed the TCU O-line coach, and you could hear it in his voice even at the time. He was just kind of like, they were like, oh, like, he's been playing guard, but can he play tackle? And to me, it kind of felt like a guy who was like, he's really a guard, but he could play tackle. You know what I mean? Like, it was kind of
like in emergencies.
Yeah, like, I think that they're looking at the skill set, and they're like, yeah, we could maybe put him at tackle. Like, he's good.
Yeah. And
I think that they probably had it in their back of their mind. If he can't play tackle, we'll just put him at guard. And so I think they just view him as a quality lineman. But last year was weird, which makes me feel like, were they doubting him? Was it just him, or was it just Bobby Johnson? Is that why they quickly got rid of Bobby Johnson? I know that he was, I guess, maybe a quick guy, but it was very quick that they were just like, he's gone. And was that one of the reasons? To me, it kind of makes sense that could have been one of the reasons. Like, there was just a disconnect on the way that he was coaching some of the guys. And so we'll see if he still has it in the tank. I think they believe in his skill set. You know what I mean? I think he's still an AP guy, and his demeanor has always been, that was the thing. Cause some guys, if they're in a doghouse, you're like, that makes sense. He had no demeanor of being a doghouse guy, so it was just kind of really weird that he wasn't practicing, and the fact that he was not playing, the fact that he was there consistently, I just think there's more for him. So, that 2024 class is very interesting, because there's just a lot of guys on that class that, like, had great years one year, not so great last year. What is the true story? Are they good, or are they not so good? So we'll find out more this year.
Yeah, this will be the telltale sign of, like, all right, 2024, Jayden Daniels aside.
Yeah.
Everyone else is getting evaluated, because
everybody else.
You have
every guy. Every single guy. I mean, it's weird. Yeah. That class, every player is somebody that you kind of feel good about and kind of not sure, right? I mean, when you think about it, is there anybody on that you're just like 100%, I know this guy can ball? All of them are like guys that you're like, man, they've had some really good, like, weeks where I'm like very confident in them. And then you also are like, but they kind of sucked at this point, or they kind of were MIA in this point. You know what I mean? Jordan McGee
and Dom Hamden's already gone.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, it's just, I don't know, man. It's interesting, but, like, I feel like 2024 in general was more of what this team is than 2025. I think 2025 was just a disaster. And I think that people just kind of, you know how it is, man. You do well on a test one day, you're like, oh man, I got it. And then the next week you fail because you didn't put any effort in. You just thought you made it. You thought you'd been there before. So
thought shit was sweet.
Bingo.
Yeah. I mean, that saying shit's sweet. Am I kind of second loser, if not more of like a concern for me? The secondary is just a mess to me because like we have Mikey, but I have a reel coming out tomorrow to kind of emphasize this point. Mikey, all right, we kind of know what he is, kind of don't know what he is. Well, hopefully Durante Jones can draw him. Amos is coming off injury. Amik Robertson is in a new system. Keller Witherspoon's in a new system and is not doing great at practice by all things considered. Fred Davis is a UDFA who's doing okay. I give him okay for a UDFA cornerback and, OTAs and minicamp for shirts and shorts. Jartavius Martin, this is an evaluation year for you, buddy. Are you an actual safety? Are you a nickel corner? Or are you just someone who can play through injuries really well? We're figuring that part out. Will Harris, you're actually coming off injury, like fully healthy. Tyler Owens, you're in an evaluation year. Are you just a special teamer? Can you play actual safety? Malik Spencer, you're a UDFA that I really like at free safety, but can you make impact to make this roster? And we're kind of at a standstill of like, all right, why is every secondary player under some sort of evaluation of a microscope? We should have one person that we're like, yes, it's him at all times. We don't kind of have that.
I don't know if we do. And to be honest, the only person I feel like you could maybe say would have been that if he didn't get hurt is Trey Amos. I thought Trey Amos played excellently all year, and Joe Witt like literally couldn't say anything bad about him. Like all year, he was just like, Trey Amos is so good. He was just raving about him nonstop. Now, yeah. I mean, the secondary didn't play well last year, so it's really, and they didn't change much. Like we talked about all the positions that changed. You bring in Nick Cross, you bring in Amik, and there was some rumblings about like everybody's pretty excited about Nick Cross. Like you haven't heard much negative about that. With Amik, a lot of the Lions fans kind of were like, have him, kind of, right? Like there was a lot of that when he was signed here. Was a lot of them were just like he didn't do as much because he had pretty good years in Vegas that I think that they were thinking they were going to get a little bit more from him, and he played well in 24 until he got hurt as well. Because like look, these same people who were complaining about or like saying just take him were the same ones that were complaining about how he got hurt in the first game or first play against the Commanders, and that's one of the reasons why they lost the game, right? Like they clearly like him too. So to me, they're unproven, right? And some of them are guys that have played some, like Mikey. Look, Mikey's might have the most polarizing player on the team, let alone just in the secondary, because everybody knows he played really well in 24, had some great plays, and then in 25 it was kind of like, what's up with Mikey in ways. And the same thing with Quan Martin. Quan Martin had the same kind of. Quan Martin played better with separated shoulders or whatever than he did all of last year. You know what I mean?
Which is crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just like somebody hurt his shoulder and then let's get back to work. But it's just basically like, they're just unproven. But what I will say is just like how I talked about how the defense is going to help Jayden, the secondary will be helped significantly by great pass rush. I think we don't give them enough credit for the fact that there was not good pass rush last year. They didn't have any good pass rushers. I mean, they had Von Miller, who was probably their best, and that says a lot. Von Miller at the age of 37, I think. And then you also had, when you think about the year prior, it wasn't like they had a bunch of Myles Garrett's out there or anything, but they did have people making more plays. Lou Vu was in the backfield much more. Dante Fowler Jr. had an incredible year. There's a part of like what this comment is saying is that maybe they seemed a little more vanilla, when it came to both sides of the ball. And we heard other teams say that, and they took advantage of that, right? So, I think that we'll see a lot more consistency with these DBs, because if you're bringing the pressure in, I played corner in high school. I played corner in college, and it does matter. It does matter, and it's easy to remember all the plays that they didn't do well. Like Trey Amos is an underrated player because when you just are locking down people, you're not talking about him, right? And so I think that's one thing about the DBs is that we're probably a little harsh on them for the fact that just that's what you do when you're giving up big plays. But deservedly so, they weren't great last year. They just weren't. So we can give a little bit of, we can say a little bit because of the pass rush, but they also need to wake up and play better. And I think the true concern there for the fact that those positions, corner and safety, didn't change much from last year to this year is real for the concern to be there.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that if we're looking at the construction, because I said this sort of on Monday, and then I kind of been popping in and out of reading Z's show of like, if Fred Davis is the most talked about corner at OTAs right now as the UDFA rookie out of Northwestern, does he get a shot? Like, Akella Witherspoon is both injured and not playing great. So that leaves you with 4 sort of healthy corners, and you could bring in Charvarius Ward, but he didn't do great in Tennessee, injuries aside. And it's like, what? No, Charvarius back in the Chiefs? Or I think it's
no, yeah, he did. You're thinking of L'Jarius Sneed.
L'Jarius
Sneed. Back. Yeah, and he just went back because I wanted Charvarius. You said Charvarius Ward, and my eyes, like my head lit up because that's who I really wanted to do from San Fran, who ended up signing in Indy last year. But L'Jarius Sneed, yes,
there we go.
He was somebody that was a consideration that ended up just getting signed by Kansas City. But you're right, when it comes to the depth at corner, it is interesting because, people always want to talk about who's the UDFA that can make the team. Well, it's not always the UDFA that's playing the best, right? Yeah. Sometimes it's the UDFA that just has the best opportunity, right? Because if you think about how good Ja'Cory Brooks was in comparison to Carlin Biggers, you're pretty much on the same wavelength, right? Same playing field. And I would actually argue that I thought that Ja'Cory Brooks looked better than Biggers throughout last year and throughout camp and OTAs here. But there's a lot of receivers, like we talked about. It's a crowded room. So it's like, yo, man, to do him even a solid, it's like, yo, let's try to let you get out of here and go find another team that you might have a better chance to make the roster with. Whereas Carlin Biggers and Fred Davis, they're like, yo, when you think about outside of Mikey, Trey Amos, and Amik, who do you got, right? You don't have a lot. Akella Witherspoon, who else, right? So that's where it is enticing seeing Fred Davis make plays. I think Darius Rush had a pick 6 in the other practice. Carlin Biggers has been out there, and I'm not thrilled about the depth, if I'm being honest. We haven't seen Trey Amos. If Trey Amos comes back, looks great. But if he comes back and struggles a little bit, if Mikey gets hurt, if Meek gets hurt. You know what I mean? Like I'm not thrilled with the I'm not thrilled with the depth at corner, right? I'm not. No. But this is where they must feel pretty good about it because they haven't made any moves there. And also, how easy is it to get another quality corner, at the end of June, right? Like the most quality corners are gone already, right? So the concern there is real. The concern at safety as well. I mean, there's a reason why you were talking about Malik Spencer, like. Who he's another person that is a UDFA that might be able to make the roster because when you think about outside of Quan and Will Harris and Nick Cross. And we're talking about people like Quan and Will Harris that we're like, are we sure that they're quality starters, right? There is a lot of debate. Yeah, there's a lot of debate about who is really the guys. I like Reeves. Some people don't feel like Reeves is a true starter. They feel like he's more of a special teamer. They like Reeves, and I like Reeves as well. I think Reeves is a quality back or DB, but I don't think he's amazing in coverage. He's much better at attacking the run, and so stuff like that, right? Like, I mean, there's just a lot of uncertainty in that back room, but I think that they believe with the amount of effort that they put in when it comes to the guys at the front seven, as well as just maybe the scheme changes, will these guys be able to play better with the new scheme?
And you brought up Reeves, and I was like, and I've totally left Reeves off my list, but I'm like, you kind of know what Reeves is. Like, love him to death. He should retire in Washington forever. For sure. His family should be. The moment he retires, he should become a coach or part of the front room.
We love Reeves. Like, for sure.
If Reeves and Tressway if you start slander people are fighting you on the streets
for sure. Yeah.
for these two players. But it's like, okay, we know what Reeves is. He's a very, very all-pro Revo for special teams ability. And if you need him in the secondary, you can use him. But if he's your starting strong safety because 3 of your guys are down, I'm very, very concerned as a fan going Jartavius and Jeremy Reeves.
Like I think
anybody popcorn?
No, I mean, look, I think that it's, this is where you don't want to slight anybody or whatever.
No,
but I think that Jeremy, he's like played so well for what was expected of him, right? Like even last year, there are people that were like, I thought he played really well at safety, but at the same time, if you're arguing, was he a top safety and should have been like a number 1 safety? Probably not. Like, I think that he has some limitations on what he can do overall, but I thought he played better than anybody anticipated. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to, convert into championship level football. Because at the end of the day, that's what you're aiming for, right? You're aiming to be a championship level team. And so I think having Reeves as a guy who can come in and play is great. I think he is somebody who's going to make some valuable, real defensive plays for this team. I don't think it's a guy that you want to rely on for 80% of the snaps. Like that's where, and if he is being able to do that, that's a great win. But I don't think that they have him on the squad with that as its expectation of this guy is going to play 80% of the safety snaps and produce at a championship level. I think that they feel like Nick Cross could be that. This is why I was adamant about like, you should really consider Caleb Downs. And I think that Sonny Styles probably is the better fit for what they want to do from a team perspective. Right. But like, there was for anybody who watched me, they knew I was pushing the Caleb Downs tick a lot because I felt like he was, when you're talking about improving the back end of that defense, I felt like he had the leadership and the ability to really, change that. But, Nick Cross was an excellent signing, right? And I think that Amik has more ability than we want to give him credit for, especially playing slot and outside. But it is if I was to say what's the concern on defense, is definitely the DB rooms, like both of the DB rooms.
Yeah, like when we drafted, like I think I was hyped for Sonny Styles, hyped for Antonio Williams. I would say I was hyped for Joshua Josephs because we needed an edge rusher. It wouldn't have been my edge rusher, but I was like, all right, there's ability. Tennessee again had a down year, same as Clemson. 2 orange and white teams had down years. Go figure.
Yeah.
All right. So he's your newer Javonte Jean-Baptiste. And sorry, JJB. Love you. I don't know if you make it all the way. Sorry about it. Love the Matt Golden pick. I called it for 3 mock drafts in a row. I had him at 202, got him at 209, so I'm spot on with that. Got Katron Allen. That's a great value pick because that gives you tremendous depth. And then we got Calacamanis, and I went, that could have been a corner or a safety. Because there were still decent ones on the roster. There was one that went to Seattle, kid out of Toledo. I'm forgetting his name, but I would have taken him because that gives you a 65 passer rating in college. Yes, Toledo, but it gives you depth, size, youth, ability, and unless they're moving Jartavius to slot corner, which is what he was at Illinois, now you've lessened the depth at safety. Or you move Madrano to safety, but now you're testing that water. It's like, I'm with you. That's the biggest concern has to be the secondary. And frankly, I'd say the biggest one of the two is corner.
Yeah. Well, I think that they might feel more strongly about some of these guys than we do. And we don't get to see them that often, right? We don't see every practice. We get to see some of them. And, I will never forget about the fact that Durante Jones in his opening press conference mentioned Jartavius Quan Martin, right? And what Quan Martin did for Illinois was different than what they asked him to do here. I mean, he was more of a nickel type safety, nickel / corner safety role. Is that something he can still do? And they might be just finding out, like, hey, I believe you can do it, and maybe like later on they're like, you can't do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is where if moves do happen, it's because they realize, hey, he can't do it. We need to find another guy. But it is very possible that they could just feel like the scheme was the problem, right? Because a lot of these guys played well in 2024. Like when you think about the views of Quan Martin going outside of 2024, when you think about what people felt of Mikey in 2024, they were positive, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, there were so many players that we felt much more positive about in 2024. Coaching matters, and they made changes because they felt like the coaching wasn't quite there. So, are we over evaluating some of these guys? It's possible. Just like how people are dogging on Jayden. How many national pundits and national people have talked so much about how they don't think Jayden is that good and they gave him a crown too early? And everybody here is kind of like, okay, all right, like keep saying that. I think you'll change your mind again. Could we be doing the same thing to the same players here in DC with these corners and safeties? It's possible. Now, I still would like to add more players, right? I still don't like the depth. Like I'm kind of playing defense here, but I still would rather have more players. You know, I mean, I thought that they would, just like you, I thought that there were some corners and safeties that they might want to attack, whether in free agency. I'm really surprised, like the corner thing, like they got Amik, but I thought they were going to get like a very high level corner in the off season. And I think that they just like what Amik can do, being able to play both the slot and the outside, because I think they realize how much nickel corner has been involved in playing defense nowadays. But to me, I'm not super sold. Like I'm not like I'm kind of in the middle where I'm like, they could be good, but I still would like to see more people. I think for people who are concerned about it, that's completely fair. But I also know that like they might be just thinking like, hey man, we got guys, they just need to be playing better because we need to put them in the right places to make those plays.
Yeah, and I'm with you. The coaching matters, and the fact that we all like I got to week 5 of last season. I said, get Joe Wynn, Marshall Lattimore out of here. Expedite, like get him gone. Yeah. And it took and Dan Quinn took over the Miami game. He took over play calling for defense, or was right after. It's like you're a couple of games late.
And it took way too long.
It took way too long. But like I would love to be that fly on the wall. Like, okay, 2024. It was not a great defense, but it wasn't bottom of the barrel defense that it was in 2025. What happened besides losing like 2 free agents? Like I would love to see these internal meetings.
Yeah, it could be complacency. DQ's already talked about the emphasis of bringing more energy to the game, and I think that sometimes like I didn't think it was smart for them to let Jeremy Chin walk, right? Like that was a move that I didn't really love. Like I felt like the swap of Will Harris for Jeremy Chin wasn't the biggest fan of that, but also just like one of the commenters said, like it's possible that people went back, and I think that's why I think they're going to have success this year. So no one knows what's coming. Really, there's not enough tape for them to really be able to analyze. I think people watched the tape. They really took the offseason to try to figure out this team because they surprised everybody. It was good play, but it was also like, oh, who's this squad? And they're playing really well. Right. What are they doing? People at the offseason, they're going to take you more seriously. You were definitely the belle of the ball for 2024. And people are sitting there being like, okay, if we got to get somewhere, we don't want this kid and this Washington team taking over the league. And they quickly humbled the squad, right? And I think that quickly, you start to realize like, hey, man, like they're not calling the right plays. They're not suiting themselves in the right spots. I mean, when you look at the Seattle game, just like you said, I was done with the season after Seattle game as well, because obviously with the injury from Jayden kind of was like a capper. I think most people kind of like gave up on that team after that game, but it wasn't actually just Jayden really. It was very much the defense on the fact that they could not, like Sam Darnold looked like he was the best quarterback I've ever seen that day, right? And so those are the kind of things that
Super Bowl champion Sam Darnold now.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like clearly that team was good, right?
Yeah,
they made them look insane, right? Like I'm sorry, they made them look like the best team I've ever seen that day, right? Yeah. And so that's the thing. It's like I understand that, and but then you also saw how they played against Denver, right? Denver came in a few weeks later, changes were made, adjustments were made, and those are the things. Our best game of the season. Yeah, and so that's my thing. My thing is that you just don't know. The scheme could be a really big part of it. We've seen what Ben Johnson's been able to do with Detroit, and then once he goes to Chicago, does the same kind of things over there as well. So I do think that coaching matters, and we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, I'm I'm excited to see what happens. I'm curious what training camp will look like. Because between the renovations that Josh Harris continues to make in the decrepitating stadium that is Northwest Stadium, because we have what 4.5 years until RFK is ready. So I'm excited for that.
It is, yeah.
I mean, it's June 26th, but it's also already June of 2026.
It'll be more like 4 years. Yeah, like 4. But dang.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
I mean, it's a long time, but I also remember it being Christmas. And now it's Father's Day.
Oh, it'll go by fast. Especially if they're winning and having success, we won't even care.
Exactly.
We'll get super excited. But if they're winning, we're not going to care. It'll go fast.
No, we're not going to care at all.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm ready for that. I'm excited to see the development of Antonio Williams. I think he probably has offensively probably the most mystery, and it's not even just because he's a rookie. I think the fact that it's like, oh, well, he's a rookie receiver. He'll be wide receiver 3 or 4, but also he could be wide receiver 2 because Luke's injured, Jaylen's injured, Diami's back. Do you want Van as your 2? I've got Antonio at my 2. So I think he's the biggest mystery on offense. And like I love Katron Allen. I love Rashad White. It's A-dub right now. And on defense, it's the Sonny Styles show of like, all right, you are paired with a 6'5" Odafe. And I laughed. Shout out to Asia. She put on her story like she didn't realize how tall Odafe was standing next to Caleb on Chason, who's 6'3", and Odafe's 6'5", and it's like, oh damn.
I mean, and do people know that he ran a 4.3 at his pro day? Now that was during the 2020 season where like maybe COVID. It was like. Yeah, maybe it was just like a weird time, but even running a 4.4 is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So
the guy
at
his size and height.
Yeah, no, I mean, and what we saw with his play in San Diego, San Diego with LA, right? I mean, to show you, I'm showing my age.
It's San Diego.
I almost said Oakland earlier when I was talking about the Raiders too. But basically, when we seen what he did in LA. It was clear that like a new scheme, playing with new people, a new environment can really change scenery. What somebody can do. And I think that's why they invested so much in him is because they were like, hey, he got drafted in the first round. They never really tapped into his full potential. We saw that people are starting to be able to do that. The skill set that everybody believed he would have is starting to show its face. I think the same thing you could say for Kayvon as well, which is why Kayvon is probably the number one guy that I'm excited to watch because I think he's probably the most underrated signing. I think him or Meek could be argued as the most underrated signings. But the thing is, there's just so many new people on the defensive side of the ball. So, when it comes to the excitement level, like regardless of how or how poorly, they did last year, I could not be more excited to see this team play because I think that we'll see a little bit more of 2024 in there. And then I think that just the energy of like they are upset. They're not happy about what happened in 2025. We saw Jayden and what he had to say about like, I don't want to talk about it anymore. That, I've talked to some people on the sidelines, some people who are around the team enough to know that they're like, nah, they're not happy. Like they know what they can do, especially for those who are here in 2024. They're like, okay, y'all want to sleep on me because we had a bad season? Like, we'll see. And so it gets me excited. If it's put up or shut up time. And the energy that they're bringing right now makes me believe that it's starting from top to bottom. You know what I mean? The same thing for DQ and that coaching staff. I think all of them are kind of like, okay, y'all sleeping on us again. Okay, we'll show you what we can do. We show you like what we can bring to the table like we did a couple years ago.
Yeah, it feels like 2024 all over again, but I almost wonder if it feels better than 2024. Like 2024, all right, DQ wasn't the first choice or the second choice on anybody's bingo card. So then you brought in Cliff Kingsbury. You brought in Joe Wood from Dallas. You bring in Jayden Daniels. We're all like, all right, there's excitement. There's a little bit of hesitation. Like Dan Quinn, is he a head coach? Cliff Kingsbury, he was a head coach. Now he's back as an OC. What are we going to look like now? There's still some of that. Like, is David Blau going to be a coordinator? What does Durante Jones look like? But something about like the OTA energy based on like the interviews that have come out, the photos between you and a bunch of the other people put like, shout out to you, shout out to Emily, shout out like all the photographers who put out like, I keep saying it, best photographers in the business, and it's not just because you're on the show. It's generally true.
But it's like,
you can see like there. I mean, you know the saying, the picture shows 1,000 words. You can see the emotion of Jayden in the black practice jersey with the GoPro on his helmet, staring down the barrel of like, I'm throwing to Luke on the sideline right now. Terry coaching Bradley on the sidelines of like, wide receiver one coaching UDFA. Please and thank you, because you rarely see this nowadays. You see like all the what was it? Oh, there was a shot, I forget who did it, where it was like Malik and Butler and Reeves like all like in their jerseys, but like hanging out at practice. And it's like, why do we feel more cohesive now than the past 2 years besides coaching? And it feels different just based on the photos, based on the interviews, based on the videos.
They're having fun out there.
Different. Yeah.
No, they're having fun out there. I mean, you know, I talked about the last practice, you know, that third practice of OTAs, right? Or excuse me, not of OTAs, but of the veteran minicamp. You know, we weren't sure what we were going to get because it was going to be the shortest practice. Most of the practices were 2 hours. That one was going to be an hour. So even going to that, I was like, almost like, man, I might not go, right? Because I was just like, I don't know if they're going to just do like special team stuff. Like, are we going to really see anything? And I went there and they were having a lot of fun. And it wasn't just like, oh, you know, plays like the whole defense was going against the whole offense. Like a guy would make a play, you know, when Darius Rush made that pick six, the whole defensive sideline went erupted and they ran down there, celebrated with them. You know, when Sam made a great throw, you know, to I think it was Chris Hilton, Jayden ran all the way to the defensive side of the defensive side, talking trash to them and all this kind of stuff. Like they were having a lot of fun. You know, they were doing all these celebrations. The refs were having fun because they were throwing flags on them, even though it was like every celebration they did, they were throwing flags just to like joke around with them. So it was just that having fun. I mean, I'm a guy about passion, right? Like I do photography because I love it. Like it's not about the paycheck, it's because I love doing it, right? And I think that they're, you know, going back to that of doing this because of the love of the game. So they're having fun, but they want to get better. They want to succeed. And I think that that's where last year, I think they just kind of felt like, oh, we're good. We'll just show up. And I think it's from top to bottom. We heard DQ have been talking about watching film from 2024 and watching film from 2025 and recognizing that there was different energy. And it's probably because they're just kind of like going through the motions, believing that they're just going to show up and do the exact same thing. And people get hungry, right? Like people get hungrier. People realize that. And I think that that's the greatest thing about this year is you're seeing that hunger come back again because they were embarrassed last year and they should have been. It wasn't a great season. It was terrible from top to bottom. Those last 5 games were just even horrible being out there. You know what I mean? Even for us, people who are just covering the team, like we're out there and kind of like, I mean, you think I wanted to chill out there on Christmas Day? Like I was like, yo, I could be at home with my family. You know, when I went to Philly for the last game of the year, I was just like, yo, when can we go home? When's the season over? And it was so like polarizing because of the year before that. My last game of the season was at Philly, and it was just like such this like amazing feeling and humbling because it was like you were this close to the Super Bowl and leaving that stadium that day, even though there was disappointment about the fact that they lost the game and they weren't going. It was like, oh, we gonna be back. Like everybody was just kind of like, this is the beginning of like a special squad and a special organization. And for last year, for it to go the way it did, it was like never again. You know what I mean? Like no one wanted to feel that ever again. So I think that they're really putting the time and effort in now to never feel that again.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the Philly game. It was a Saturday, December 20th game. I was like, you know what? I'm getting tickets now. I'll go to Philly or go to DC. And like, it wasn't cold. Like it was windy. It wasn't cold. And it's like, all right.
You're talking about last year, like the home game last year?
Yeah, the home game. Yeah. It was the game before the Dallas Christmas game.
The night game?
The night game. Yeah. Like I was there and like, it was a fun one. It wasn't like the greatest showing. The fact we had Josh Johnson on the field, tells you everything you need to know.
But it was at least they were fighting at least in that one. You know what I mean? But
they were trying. Good time. Fans were having fun. They had the light show. I got the Jayden throwback jersey for like 30% off. So I was going home with a sub $100 jersey. Can't complain there. Like I met up with Hog Farmers. Met up with Chad. Tried to meet up with Lake, but some things fell through. And I was like, overall, a good time. Like, we lost. Yeah, but I kind of expected us at that point of the season. It was like,
And kind of low-key wanted to in a way, because at this point we're in draft season. It's kind of like, man, it doesn't really help that much winning games. But yeah, so I get where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's like, do I want the team? Do I actively root for the team to lose? No.
Yeah.
Do I know we're probably going to lose down here?
Yeah,
probably.
And if they would have won, it would have been great, because who likes seeing Philly win anything? No one. So like, no one. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but like at the end of the day, it's like at that point in the season, if you're going to a game, you're like, I'm just here because either A, I'm a season ticket holder, B, I'm a part of the staff, or C, I'm just here to like meet up with a few buddies, drink a few beers,
and you just watch it
on my couch.
Like the thing is all these people who are there, because like, look, I could personally send a different photographer to cover for me if I wanted to, but like, no, I want to be there because I love it, and I want to be there because I enjoy covering it, and I enjoy being part of it, and I want to tell this story, and I want to tell the story from a Commander's perspective. But people who know me know I tell the full story. When they lose, I show them losing. You know what I mean? When they're struggling, I show them struggling, because I think it means much more when they win. And I think that's why people even go to the games. They're like, I'm rocking with this team no matter what. So when they do win and you're there for those games, like when you think about Atlanta 2 years ago and them clinching the playoffs and all that kind of stuff in overtime, that'll be a feeling I will never forget. Right. When I think about Tampa Bay and Detroit in the playoffs last year, those are feelings I'll never forget. Right. So the fact of the matter is, I think people are out there because they still support this team. They still love this team. Yeah. And I think that I think these guys know that. And I think these guys want to get back to those better feelings. Right. And that's the only thing that I could say that was a little bit of a positive last year, was that even though there were people who wanted them to lose, and I would say that even for me, I wouldn't say that I wanted them to lose, but I was also like, well, it helps when they lose because they're going to get a higher draft pick.
Right.
Essentially, even though like there are people who look at it that way, at the end of the day, they want them to be the best that they can be, and they're hopeful for that. So, I think there's a lot of faith in this team still. Ever since they switched, ever since Dan Snyder's been gone, ever since Josh Harris has taken this team, ever since AP's been here. I know some people aren't the biggest fans of DQ. I am. Ever since DQ's been here, I feel much better about the squad. I feel like when you think about which one was the anomaly and which one was real when it comes to the last 2 seasons, I still am a believer that 2024 was more of the real, Commanders organization, and 2025 was just unfortunate, unlucky. But we'll see there. We'll see.
Yeah, this season kind of, I would almost say this season could be a baseline of like, all right, 12-5 NFC Championship game, 5-12 injury riddled, bad coaching. Now we're all like kind of mellowed out of like, all right,
even. Yep.
We're even kill. Like we've seen the best, we've seen the worst. I mean, we could have been worse. We could have been the Jets or the Raiders, but we're not. Let's figure out what we have. Let's figure out what we don't have.
This is why this year is so pivotal, right? Because it's like, if there's another bad year, then I think we just start to realize like maybe they're just not that good. Maybe Jayden's not that good. Maybe this coaching staff's not that good. Like something's off. Something's not working, right?
Yeah.
But if they come in and dominate or play really, really well, you're like, okay, well, yeah, now it makes sense. Like that last year was it. And so that's really what this season's about. And that's why, in a way, people have been upset about the fact that they have such a hard schedule at the beginning. I'm thrilled about it because it's like there's no excuses this year. You you practice with the mindset of you have to go hard off rip, right? So there's no excuses. If they don't succeed and don't play well this year, it's just because they're not good enough. It's just because they're not putting it. They didn't put the time in. They're not good enough. That's it. They have no excuses to not play well this year. If they don't, then it probably just means that changes need to be made. But I'm gonna be honest. Feel good about this team right now.
Yeah,
I really do.
I feel a lot better. Yeah, I feel a lot better,
especially after seeing them in person. Feel much better. There's still more work to be done, but I do.
Right. Hey, all I'm gonna say is Drew Stevens should be our kicker of the future. Just saying.
The best kicking battle ever, bro. Like, I'll be honest, I don't care about kickers normally ever. I like in fantasy football, this is my last pick every year. I don't even care. I just let the auto draft do it. Like, just pick me a guy. I don't care about kickers normally. I've been doing this YouTube thing for about a year, and last year, Skylar, my co-host, was just like, "Oh my God, get another kicker. We need a kicking competition." I was just like, relax, man. Like, there's so many other things. Like, relax. But as we've seen, kickers have played such a big, important role.
Pivotal role.
Yeah, right. I mean, and we've had some success. Like in 2024, they had the Rolodex of kickers that actually worked out pretty well. You know, Cyber. The worst thing was Cyber missing that. You know, Dallas crazy comeback. You know, extra point. That was the worst.
Lightning strikes twice.
Yeah, exactly. The lightning strikes twice game. But he had the 6 field goal game against the Giants. Like he had some important kicks throughout the year. Zane Gonzalez had some really important kicks. But we've seen these guys. It's just like every time they had a guy that they felt good about, they would mess up. They'd cut him. They get a new guy, and they're like, okay, hopefully this guy's the guy.
And it's always a veteran.
It is, and it's always somebody that you're like, okay, maybe, and then they come in and you're like not really so thrilled about it. So this was the first time that they actually brought a competition in, and it's been really exciting to see because it's really been probably the most enticing, like in your face competition that we've had out of all the spots, right? We've talked about Chris Paul versus Brandon Coleman, right? Like we've talked about, like we haven't talked about on this show, but there's Athen versus Sam Hartman, conversation. But there are people really battling to see who's going to start at that position, and kicker has been the most exciting one. I think it is Drew Stevens' job to lose, mainly just because he's a younger talent. He has a ridiculous leg. He needs to be a little bit more accurate. I think it's pretty even right now, so I wouldn't be surprised if either one wins. But I think if you are fully 100% even between the two, you probably go with Drew Stevens versus Moody just because of the youth and his strength and the ability to kick the ball.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think we could get really weird and just keep both, like stash one on practice squad and be like, let's get weird with it.
I don't think you can't do it. You could maybe do it with Moody. You can't do it with Stevens. If Stevens gets cut, he's going to, or if they try to put him in the practice squad, somebody else will grab him. I don't know if Moody will do. Moody might be able to be stashed. You can't stash Stevens.
No, and that's my argument. And I'll wrap things up so we're not here forever. That's my argument with Van Jefferson is like, if you're gonna keep him, figure out who's getting cut. If you're not gonna keep him, he's the moment you pull on practice squad. Hey, New Orleans, y'all need like a bunch of receivers now. Y'all can have Dolphins.
I think they're
no one.
I think they're aware of that. You know what I mean? That's the risk you take when you cut people. Like when they cut Ja'Cory Brooks last year, I was nervous he might get taken, but he didn't. And that's probably because they're like, we don't think anybody's going to grab him. And so, that's the thing. That's why that conversation is so important, especially if IU becomes involved on the squad. That's a lot of people that you got to figure out how are you going to fit them all in. And this is why some people get traded, because it's like, if we can't cut him and keep him, we got to get something out of him, right? And so these are conversations that look, there's a reason why these guys are GMs for a reason. It's easy for us to be like, keep this guy, cut this guy, you know what I mean? But it's not that easy. Now, I do see a comment about kickoffs with Stevens and Moody. To be honest, I don't know enough yet. We have not seen him do a ton of kickoff work. So whenever we do get to see that info, I will definitely come back and say it. It is important. It is an important part of the kicking game. I would assume for how strong his leg is, I would assume Stevens can do it, but we don't know. Not yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's early, and I mean, who's watching Iowa kickoff specials like that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There are some Iowa fans I know that have mentioned things to me. So if any of them are watching or anybody, tunes in, leave it in the comments, man. Let us know if you can do kickoffs.
For sure. Because I mean that's a good point. Is we were starting other teams, near the 35, but that's also special teams coverage. That's Luke and Jaylen getting us to the 35 or the 40, or you kick it out of bounds. Like, it's a gift and a curse, I think, at that rate of like, he doesn't have the finesse. All right, but if you're gonna keep him and you don't want the finesse, you can squib it to the guy who can't run fast, who is at the 10-yard line. And if they get to the 35, okay, cool. They're probably gonna get to at least the 30 with a normal returner.
Well, I mean, even this day and age with the new kickoff rules, they don't even really want to boot it out the way. They want to kind of position it where the guys have to bring it out at the one, because I think that gives them the best ability to play, field position. So, look, I'm not a special teams kickoff expert, so we'll see. I'll try to make sure I pay attention to that. The further we get into camp. But I would just assume with the leg that kid has, he'll be fine at kickoff. That's just my assumption.
Yeah. I mean, I would have taken my guy Trace Mack out of Florida, but that is just a personal thing.
Are you a Florida fan?
I'm a Gators fan. I'm a Gators fan. It's been rough. It's been rough.
I should have known before I jumped on this call. I probably should have asked you. I'm a Florida State Seminole.
Oh no!
So, yeah, honestly, man, I would have been like, "I'm busy today." You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta talk to some other Knowles or something. No, I'm kidding. My best friend is like, right. My best friend is a Gators fan too. So like, I love talking trash. But yeah, no, I mean,
both our teams are bad, so we're on the same spot.
Bro, I shouldn't even be admitting I'm a Florida State fan. Just comparable to how they've been doing the past couple of years, and it's not going to get any better this year too. So we'll talk more, when come October. I might be putting, I might be ducking you come October, just depending on how they're doing at the beginning of the year.
I mean, I've got a new head coach. You've got your same head coach. We're both.
We need a new head coach. You want to give us? Yeah, like somebody get. Look, Norvell, it's time, dog. We need a new coach, man. Don't get me started. I could go on for another hour, bro.
I mean, that might be another show that's obviously all right. State of college football
for sure.
4 hours. Let's go
for sure.
Hold on. Let me call up Dante over at Gridiron Apex. Let me call
right. We gotta call Josh with his Alabama squad. Like, everybody got their teams. David Harrison with his Ohio State Buckeyes. Everybody got their team. So yeah, we could definitely get into like definitely another call about that. But look, I'm too sad about how they're looking right now that I don't even want to talk about it.
Hey, look, anything better, right? I mean, it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, we could be Miami fans. You know what I mean? Yeah,
could be Miami fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, no, I mean,
it would be kind of nice. It would be kind of nice to be a Miami fan right now, just based upon how well they've been doing, dog. So
I mean, we could be UCF. We could be UCF.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We could be UCF or USF or so. God, we're digging deep. We're digging in the trenches for teams that we could be fans of. This is bad.
It's bad. But no, this was a fantastic time. I'll get you up on your way so you can go figure out your Father's Day dinner because it is hot on the East Coast, and if anything, it is time to eat.
Yeah, 100%, man. I can't wait. But yeah, look, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. It's been great. The fan base has been great. The YouTube community, I'm brand new to this. Obviously, you guys know me for taking pictures, but I'm really putting my face out there a little bit more. So it's been nice for all those people who've been like engaging with us and interacting with us. And we just appreciate it, man. So thank you for having me on.
I appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you staying on for like an hour and a half. I'm thinking, all right, get an hour in out. No, this was a blast. Always happens. We'll get to talking. I'm like, all right, let's go down this rabbit hole of figuring this out.
Definitely.
But no, it's a great time. Like I said, you're doing phenomenal photography space, and you're doing phenomenal work on Win Sports DC, on with Josh the past through the OTAs. Just man, keep it up. YouTube. I mean, Rio said it. It is a space where we can all eat. A lot of new creators are coming, and you've got all the hardware, you've got all the software. You've as long as you've got time, you're good.
Yeah, look, I'm a nerd, man. I like talking balls, so like I just am glad that people are indulging with me in regards to letting me do that. I annoy my wife trying to talk ball, and she don't get it. But she can at least name 20 football players now. I've been quizzing her for like the last 3 years, so taking one day at a time. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? As long as my son likes football, we'll be all right. So
we good. Hey, as long as if your son takes a football, you've got your succession plan.
Exactly, bro. Like hopefully we'll see.
We good. But man, if y'all haven't already, hit that subscribe button here on BIB and then over at Win Sports DC. We're on the road to 1,200. We're at 1116. Y'all been killing it the past two reels, whether it's between Ayuk and Benson. So y'all hit that subscribe button and then head over to Win Sports DC. Go give him a subscribe. Go give them a subscribe. Get them to 500. Get them to 1,000 because everyone in this content creation space can eat. There's always room at the table. There's no head of the table. It is not like my OTC Roman Reigns. There's no head of the table. But y'all hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Share with all your friends. Shout out to Kay and everyone in the chat, in the live stream, watching the show. She said, great show. Appreciate you, Kay. I'll be seeing a lot of y'all. I'll see most of y'all tomorrow night. Burgundy Breakdown. I'll see a lot of y'all the Commanders Classic. But until then, guys, raise hell. Don't forget to stay on. We will see y'all out there. Peace.